The water stopped at 6:47 p.m., and my house went silent like it was holding its breath. By 6:49, I was outside, boots sinking into the mud, staring at the valve that HOA Karen and her sisters thought they could outsmart. HOA Karen was a legend in our quiet suburb, not for anything noble, mind you. She waddled through life like she owned the cul-de-sac, her floral dresses straining at the seams, her voice a grating megaphone of complaints. She'd berate kids for skateboarding, lecture neighbors on lawn care, and once reported me for suspiciously tall grass when I was on vacation. Her sisters, Lynn and Mai, were her loyal shadows, thinner but no less vicious, always nodding along to her tirades. Together, they were a trio of self-appointed neighborhood overlords, and I, Daniel Ruiz, was their latest target. I'm the city utilities director, a job I keep low-key. Most folks think I'm just a guy who likes his coffee black and his evenings quiet. But HOA Karen? She saw me as a pushover, a nobody to bully. Big mistake. That evening, as I traced the water line to the backyard, I found the valve tampered with crudely, like someone had taken a wrench to it in a huff. The access logs, which I checked daily, had already whispered the truth. Unauthorized access at 6:30 p.m. traced to my property line. Only one person would be bold enough to mess with city infrastructure and think they'd get away with it. The confrontation unfolded like a bad movie. HOA Karen stood by the valve, wrench in hand, her chins wobbling as she barked at me. Your sprinklers were wasting water, Daniel. I fixed it for the community. Lynn, clutching her phone like a lifeline, muttered about civic duty, while Mai pointed a bony finger, accusing me of abusing resources. The audacity was almost funny almost. My house was bone dry, my kids were whining, and these three thought they were heroes. I crossed my arms, letting the silence stretch. You know tampering with city utilities is a felony, right? Their smug faces froze. HOA Karen's eyes narrowed, but her voice faltered. You can't prove anything, she spat, though her sisters exchanged nervous glances. I pulled out my phone, opened the access logs, and held up the screen. Says here someone accessed this valve at 6:30. Guess who lives next door and has a history of sticking her nose where it doesn't belong? The air thickened with tension. HOA Karen's bravado cracked, her cheeks flushing redder than her tacky lipstick. She doubled down, because of course she did. You think you're so smart, Daniel? I'll call the city. I'll have your job. Lynn nodded furiously, already dialing, while Mai hissed about lawsuits. I almost laughed. Go ahead, I said. Call my office. Ask for the utilities director. I'll wait. That's when the reality hit them. Lynn's phone slipped from her hand, landing in the mud with a soft plop. Mai's finger froze midpoint. HOA Karen's mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. I didn't need to raise my voice. The log spoke louder than any shouting match. You didn't just turn off my water, I said, stepping closer. You tampered with city property, cost me hours of work, and left my kids without a shower tonight. You're not just a bad neighbor, you're a criminal. The sisters scrambled for excuses. HOA Karen claimed it was a misunderstanding, that she was protecting the environment. Lynn mumbled about a leak they thought they saw. Mai, suddenly silent, stared at the ground. I wasn't buying it. I'd dealt with Karens before, people who think rules don't apply to them, who thrive on control and chaos. But this time, they'd picked the wrong fight. I could have called the cops right then. A felony charge would have stuck. Tampering with utilities isn't a slap on the wrist. But as I looked at them, HOA Karen's defiance crumbling, her sisters shrinking behind her, I saw something else, fear. Not just of consequences, but of being exposed. Their whole act, the righteous crusader, the loyal sidekicks, depended on no one calling their bluff. And I just ripped the mask off. Fix it, I said, pointing at the valve. Now. HOA Karen's hands shook as she fumbled with the wrench, her sisters hovering uselessly. The valve groaned back to life, water hissing through the pipes. My house would be fine, but they wouldn't. I filed a report that night, not for arrest, but for a formal warning. The city sent them a notice, detailing fines and potential charges if they ever tried it again. Word spread fast. By morning, the neighborhood group chat was buzzing. HOA Karen got owned. Days later, I saw her at the mailbox, avoiding eye contact. No more lectures, no more glares. Lynn and Mike kept their distance too, their usual chatter replaced by awkward silence. The logs didn't lie, and neither did the consequences. They'd thought they could bully me, control me, like they did everyone else. But power isn't about being loud or mean, it's about knowing the truth and wielding it wisely. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. My kids got their showers, my sprinklers ran fine, and the neighborhood learned a lesson. Don't mess with the guy who controls the water. HOA Karen and her sisters weren't just humbled, they were dethroned. And in a small, quiet suburb, that's a fate worse than any fine. The end.